galaxy needs its guardians.
Who said this would be a relaxing holiday?
I said it was going to be like a relaxing holiday.
Welcome back to Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy. The Guardians of the Galaxy didn't do much in Thor Love and Thunder. They had some fun action scenes and some banter, but that's about it, which is ultimately a good thing. Love and Thunder had so many things to get through as is, so the Guardians didn't need to have an extended role. Now, on paper, Love and Thunder doesn't really give us much as far as what's next for the Guardians. But Love and Thunder teases one of the central themes for Guardians 3, and that is the exploration of gods in the MCU. And Volume 3 will finally introduce Adam Warlock, who has some interesting connections to Love and Thunder's themes of the dangers of religious zealotry and false idols. And we need to talk about what kind of Adam Warlock we are getting, because it seems like he will be drastically different from the comics.
More powerful, more beautiful, more capable of destroying the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Also, Guardians 3 is being set up as the final movie for the team, but Volume 3 could lead into a cosmic crossover event and the introduction of another Thanos-level villain.
Just look into the eyes of the people that you love. Not me.
What? Just listening.
Alright, so before we dive into all the theories, let's first talk about Love and Thunder really quick. The Guardians of the Galaxy are now more than just a team. They are a family, a very dysfunctional one, but they all love each other in their own unique ways. Even Nebula is now a full member of this family. In fact, Nebula and Rocket probably became very close because they're the only surviving members of the Snap, being a team of 2 for 5 years. That must shift the dynamics of the team. Rocket and Peter always butted heads about who's the captain.
What are you doing?
I've been flying this rig since I was 10 years old.
I was cybernetically engineered to pilot a spacecraft.
You were cybernetically engineered to be a douchebag.
But Rocket is now the most senior member of this team. He helped bring back all the Dusted. This experience will surely change him, make him more of a leader and less of an outsider.
I lost the only family I ever had. Quill, Groot, Drax, the chick with the antenna, all gone.
Though Love and Thunder does the bare minimum in exploring all of that, because this is a Thor movie. I guess that's why the Guardians were so done with him. He was stealing all of their thunder. Thor isn't part of the family. That spot is reserved for Gamora. Speaking of, where is Gamora?
Why is Gamora?
I assumed that in between Endgame and Love and Thunder, the Guardians were searching for Gamora, but she pulled a Bucky on them and disappeared until the sequel.
Very happy chasing cold leads on our missing persons case.
But what kind of Gamora will they find? Remember, this Gamora is not the same as this Gamora. This Gamora is a variant from the 2014 timeline, whereas this Gamora is a skeleton on Vormir.
Oh, I don't care if it's mean.
In case you forgot, variant Gamora arrived from the 2014 timeline during the time heist in Endgame, and she somehow survived the snap that turned Thanos and his whole army into dust. Now there's a deleted scene that shows that Gamora didn't get dusted. Deleted scene or not, it's canon. So who is Gamora now? She comes from 2014, a timeline where she never met any of the Guardians.
This is the one? Seriously?
Your choices were him or a tree.
The only one that she knows is Nebula, but even then, she doesn't know the present Nebula. She didn't experience her sister's evolution. So this could mean that Nebula is going to be what Gamora was to her in Volume 2, meaning that it will be Nebula who helps Gamora to evolve and finally free herself from the tyrannical control Thanos had on her. Sure, Thanos is long dead, but the trauma he imposed on her, that doesn't go away with the snap of the fingers.
You can change. He won't let me.
This is another theme that I think will play a factor into Volume 3, the idea of rebelling against your creators, the fight for free will, and finding a home among family. These themes will make more sense later in the video. Now let's talk about what everyone wants to know, Adam Warlock.
More powerful, more beautiful, more capable of destroying the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think I shall call him Adam.
He was teased back in Guardians 2, and he will finally make his appearance in Volume 3, being played by Will Poulter. Now we have a lot of theories on what kind of Adam we're going to get in Guardians 3, but first I have to explain why he's such a big deal. Adam Warlock is one of the most important cosmic heroes in Marvel Comics, and he's easily one of the most beloved characters, playing a key role in the Infinity Saga. Adam was artificially created to be the perfect human. Now he has a connection to the Soul Stone, and he has a very unique frenemy relationship with Thanos. And he has an evil alter ego, and I'm very curious to see how the MCU will adapt all of this. That's a super oversimplified version of this very complicated character. So, one last thing before we get to this theory, and we need to address it. The orange gem, the Soul Stone, which is embedded in Adam Warlock's forehead. The stone is part of who he is, but that won't be the case in the MCU. When Adam's cocoon appeared in Guardians 2, most fans assumed that the golden orb in the pod would be the Soul Stone. But nope, the Soul Stone was on Vormir all along, and now the stones were reduced to atoms. So at this point, Adam having a connection with the Soul Stone is nonsensical. The way Marvel adapts the comics, I doubt the Soul Stone's going to play any role in Adam's story. And we already had a hero with an Infinity Stone jammed in their forehead. Vision.
My stone. You stole my Soul Stone?
So, with such a change, what kind of Adam Warlock are we even going to get in the MCU? Well, in Volume 2, the Guardians of the Galaxy pissed off Aisha, the highest priestess of the Sovereign. She spent the whole movie trying to kill them, but she failed pretty miserably. And this is why she decided to create Adam, the perfect cosmic golden boy that will destroy the Guardians of the Galaxy. And here's something you might have forgotten about. Back in Thor the Dark World and Guardians 1, fans went crazy when they saw Adam Warlock's cocoon in the Collector's Museum. The cocoon is a big deal in the comics. Adam was reborn from a cocoon that looks just like this. But James Gunn clarified that this was just an Easter egg that wasn't meant to be taken seriously.
You know, for me at the time, I was just kind of making up fun stuff to put in the Collector's Museum, and I didn't know how seriously people were going to take the Easter egg.
He really didn't know fandom very well back then. And he later said that the cocoon in the Collector's Museum is an ancient version of the Sovereign's birthing pods. You see, these golden people are all genetically engineered. They don't have the whole birds and the bees like us simple humans.
I guess I prefer to make people the old-fashioned way.
They are all born from birthing pods, just like Adam Warlock. They're basically the Kryptonians in Man of Steel. Also, kind of like the Celestials who use planets as birthing pods. But Adam is going to be a special golden boy, and we think we know why.
He's my special boy!
In the credits scene, we see that Aisha is creating Adam, but she's a high priestess. She ain't doing no sciencey stuff. No offense to any alien priestesses out there. Every sovereign is created to fulfill a specific task, so there must be some kind of brilliant engineer who's actually doing the engineering. And that engineer will be the High Evolutionary. According to the rumors, Chukwudi Iwaju from Peacemaker is our High Evolutionary. That's not official at this time, but it makes so much sense.
I request elaboration.
He described his character as one of the most complex and powerful characters we've seen in the Marvel Universe. And the High Evolutionary is heavily connected to Adam Warlock in the comics. He might not have created him himself, but the High Evolutionary made Adam Warlock into the character that we all know. He's the one that gave Adam the Soul Stone and gave him the purpose of a cosmic hero. High Evolutionary is a human called Herbert Wyndham. His obsession with evolution made him into something else. His whole life is about creating and evolving life into perfection. The MCU might keep him human like in the comics, or he might even be one of the Sovereign, their top genetic engineer whose whole purpose is to create and evolve their people, like Aisha explained.
Every citizen is born exactly as designed by the community.
The Sovereign are extremely advanced. I mean, just look at their world. It's basically like a string of planets. So it's well within their capability to create a cosmic godlike being like Adam Warlock. But the High Evolutionary doesn't need to be one of the Sovereign. Maybe the Sovereign lacked any kind of out-of-box thinking. They are incapable of evolving their own people. So she outsourced the job to an outsider, the High Evolutionary, a guy who's obsessed with creating perfect creatures. Someone who, in the past, got his hands on a certain raccoon and genetically enhanced him. This could be a nice way to connect the High Evolutionary and Adam Warlock to Rocket. So much of Rocket's character is based on those terrible wrongs that were committed against him in the past.
Well, I didn't ask to get made. I didn't ask to be torn apart and put back together over and over and turned into some little monster.
So this will be a nice way to cap off Rocket's story, with him confronting the mad scientist who abused him. This also creates a sense of camaraderie between Rocket and Adam, them both being engineered by the High Evolutionary. Same as Gamora and Nebula, they were made into cyborgs by Thanos. Also like Peter, he exists because Ego needed an offspring to achieve his goals. So there is a strong theme of characters freeing themselves from their captors and their creators, forging their own destiny, rebelling against the ones that were forced upon them.
You are free. You are free.
We need to address one of the most notable things about the High Evolutionary, and that is Counter-Earth. High Evolutionary built a planet that is a replica of Earth. It's inhabited by an artificial race of humanoid animals, meaning that it's a world filled with a bunch of bebops and rocksteadies.
Make way for Bebop and Rocksteady.
And away we go!
Adam Warlock first became a hero when High Evolutionary sent him to Counter-Earth to protect the replica world. But I'm not really sure Counter-Earth fits in with Guardians 3. I see the movie going a different way. Remember that Aisha was in the thick of it at the end of the movie. Her obsession with the Guardians led to the destruction of the Sovereign's entire fleet, which pissed off the Sovereign's Council. Now the movie doesn't clarify this, but Aisha is not the Sovereign's leader. She's merely the High Priestess of a religious group. Again, no offense to alien priestesses.
The council is waiting.
They are perturbed I've wasted our resources.
So she needed a big win, otherwise the council probably would have killed her. Aisha was very interested in Peter's heritage and genealogy.
I see it within you, an unorthodox genealogy, a hybrid that seems particularly reckless.
Almost as if she knew that Peter was a human celestial hybrid. She doesn't seem to be disgusted by such a hybrid. Quite the contrary, she seems to be fascinated by the idea of a hybrid. And that gave her the idea of creating her own hybrid. In the opening battle of Volume 2, the Guardians fight this tentacle monster. This beast is called an Obelisk, a multi-dimensional being that repeatedly attacked the Sovereign. And the Guardians killed the Obelisk, and this is where things get interesting.
This is where the fun begins.
Would it be too insane for the High Evolutionary to use that Obelisk DNA and splice it with the Sovereign genes? After all, a powerful multi-dimensional beast might be exactly what the High Evolutionary needed to hyper-evolve Adam into a cosmic super being. And you have to wonder, where is the Obelisk coming from, and where is its home dimension? There is a quantum asteroid field that is right next to the Sovereign world, and I find that to be a very interesting coincidence.
Do you guys just put the word quantum in front of everything?
Now we'll get back to that train of thought in just a moment. So back in 2014, when Volume 2 took place, Adam was born. Perfect super being. Aisha had him eliminate the Sovereign Council and anyone else who opposes her and the religious group that she leads. In the decades since the events of Volume 2, the Sovereign all became religious zealots, worshipping Adam as a god. He is their hero who protected them from their enemies, especially during those dark 5 years of the snap. He is a pure being. He has sentience, but he was brainwashed from birth. He was made to believe that he's a godlike being among the Sovereign. We all know that stuff like that can really mess up a person's head.
You were made to be ruled.
Like create another personality who's evil. Adam Warlock has an evil self, the Magus. He's Adam's future self who is going evil and insane. Magus was worshipped by the Universal Church of Truth, a religious cult that indoctrinates civilizations by force.
Church, cult, church. So we get bored someplace else every Sunday. Does this really change our day-to-day lives?
So in the MCU, the Universal Church of Truth is going to be the High Priestess. Now this goes back to Love and Thunder and how gods have power only because of those who believe in them. How easy it is to become a religious nut when your god exists in a physical form. And as for why Aisha didn't send him after the Guardians in all this time, well, she kind of forgot about it.
While Danny kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet.
So here's how we see it playing out. Gamora has been traveling the galaxy since Endgame, trying to figure out who she is in this alien timeline. At some point, she goes back to her home planet. But when she arrives there, she learns that the Sovereign forced their religion on her people. They had begun a crusade on the galaxy. And this puts her at odds with Adam. And suddenly, Aisha remembers that she hates the Guardians. One thing leads to another, and the Guardians reunite with Gamora and they fight Adam.
Family reunion, yay!
Yes, at first Adam will be a bad guy, but not evil. Simply a being who doesn't understand what he's doing is wrong. It will be the Guardians who help him realize the evil of the Sovereign, and they will free him from their control, and together they stop their crusade. If Adam was created with the Obelisk's DNA, then we have to ask, where does this multi-dimensional beast come from? Where is its home dimension? Well, here James Gunn can connect the Guardians of the Galaxy to the origins of the team in the comics. The reason why the Guardians assemble in the comics was to protect the universe from Annihilus. He was the villain of the Annihilation story, a cosmic crossover event. Annihilus is an interdimensional baddie who comes from the negative zone. He invaded the universe with his massive annihilation wave, a cosmic tsunami of bugs and ships. Annihilus almost destroyed the universe. To battle the annihilation wave, cosmic heroes created a space alliance, and in the aftermath, the Guardians of the Galaxy were formed. Adam Warlock was one of these founding members. And yes, my theory is building toward the MCU's annihilation wave.
I knew it.
So let's say that the Obelisk came from the negative zone, a dimension made entirely out of antimatter, meaning that Adam has antimatter in his body.
Antimatter. Antimatter.
That is how we get the Magus. In the comics, he is an evil future version of Adam, but I don't think that the Guardians 3 will go in the future direction. Instead, he's going to be the polar opposite of Adam, his antimatter counterpart. While Adam is good and pure, Magus is the opposite, evil and corrupted. Though I also really like the idea of him being a psychological manifestation of Adam, sort of like Moon Knight's alters. But let's not forget about the High Evolutionary. He's probably going to be the real villain of the movie. You know, the baddie that the heroes fight in the third act big battle. After creating Adam with negative zone energy, High Evolutionary will become obsessed with the antimatter dimension. He will want to get there, to use its power for himself, to create and evolve. Adam is the key. Since there is antimatter in his body, he can open the door to the negative zone, maybe through that quantum asteroid field. High Evolutionary's attempt to play God will unleash the Magus. This can then lead to annihilation. So I don't want Annihilus to appear in the movie, maybe only as a cameo in a credit scene or something. Evil Adam Warlock and the High Evolutionary are more than enough for one movie. But the events of Volume 3 will build toward the negative zone, and Magus will create the opening for Annihilus's attack in the future. And then we will get a crossover event with cosmic heroes who battle Annihilus.
So we're saving the galaxy again? I guess. Awesome!
The Annihilation crossover can be a nice cap-off for the Guardians. James Gunn has said that Volume 3 will be the end of the Guardians as we know them. But that doesn't mean that they will die or that we won't see them anymore. I assume that some of the Guardians will arrive at the end of the story, like Drax. His family was avenged, and he feels kind of redundant now, just a guy who makes jokes.
I've mastered the ability of standing so incredibly still that I've become invisible to the eye.
That character really doesn't have anywhere to go at this point, and Dave Bautista said that after this movie he's done with the character. Also, the team's roster will likely be drastically different by the end. Adam will join the Guardians. Daniela Melchior has a secret role in the movie, and I totally see her as Phi Lavelle. She was one of the founding members of the team in the comics. There's also Moondragon, who in the comics is Drax's daughter. I also hope to see Nova in the MCU at some point, and he played a huge role in Annihilation. So Guardians 3 is going to be a sort of end of an era for the team. But that's our ideas on what's next for Guardians of the Galaxy. What do you hope to see in the movie? What do you think about our Adam Warlock theory? And what is the future of the Guardians of the Galaxy? Let me know in the comments below, or you can @ me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, be sure to subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.